And we are back for the second day in the Motor City. And I guess the streets are clear, you know, because it snowed for the people out there in TV land. And so we're back for the second day. And I guess we're going to get into various topics, as well as we remembered yesterday what we was going to do was we're going to start off today with some question and answers. Then go into some what you call it, but first let's do the libations, you know. And then let's do the libations, and then we'll go into question and answer. What you think about that? Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me find a libation list. How it is. Hold on. In a minute, I got plenty of them. This right down here in the back of this thing. Okay. We just start off with this one. You know the drill. Aim.
I say.
Aim Sada Uda. I say Sephra. I say Kether. I say Darth. I say Chakma. I say Bina. I say Chased. I say Deborah. I say Tipperet. I say Naxad. I say Had. I say Yased. I say Melku. I say Shekinah. I say Kalippa. I say Newt. I say Apit. I say Tyert. I say Adu Gurdi. I say Sashet, I say Selket, I say Anpu, I say Tahuti, I say Amin Ra, I say Amin Rithansah, I say Anath, I say Seba, I say Sheba, I say Sekmet, I say Selket, I say Satis, I say Tatanin, I say Upwarit, I say Sirius, I say Potelo, I say Aether, I say Coleus, I say Magnemeta, I say Jupiter, I say Mars, I say Helios, I say Venus, I say Mercury, I say Diana, I say Ceres, I say Osea, I say Tahuti, I say Mayat, I say Mut, I say Minibis, I say Nanu, I say Ptah, I say Sut, I say Amin-Ra, I say Amin-Ra Mithansah, I say Osea Kintiaminti, I say Ha-Ur, I say Het-Heru, I say Aset, I say Nephthert, I say Nephthys, I say Yema, I say Odin, I say Frigda, I say Balda, I say Laki, I say Thor, I say Priya, I say Freya, I say Sith, I say Brahmin, I say Bravini, I say Ramasandra, I say Siva, I say Shakti, I say Rudra, I say Indrasuda, I say Sita, I say Hanuman, I say Lakshmi, I say Jinsiya, I say Dambawaluedo, I say Marasha, I say Bridget, I say Adam Gurti, I say Noah, I say Ifa, I say Ogufarelli, I say Ogushengo, I say Ozili, I say Edo, I say Zaki, I say Lapi, I say Freya, I say Ishu, I say Olakun, I say Olaroon, I say Babaluaye, I say Obatala, I say Ojudawa, I say Orunla, I say Ogun, I say Shango, I say Oshun, I say Legba, I say Yeminya, I say Arisha Oku, I say Oya, I say Cthulhu, I say Sutnesi, I say Sutnubit, I say Nirla Hotep, I say Yog Sathos, I say Hastar, I say Shubnigaroth, I say Great Ones, I say Great Old Ones, I say Thunderdog, I say Pataneta Unra, I say Henry, I say Thunderbird, I say Sunbear, I say Avos, I say Ovos, I say Ivos, I say White Buffalo, I say Inanna, I say Ishtar, I say Astarte, I say Hercules, I say Apollo, I say Jason, I say Perseus, I say Prometheus, I say the Titans, I say Proteus, I say Morpheus, I say Pegasus, I say Chrysaorus, I say, hold on, Aptert, I say Harsephi, I say Mithra, I say, let's see, Apep, I say Typhon, I say Leviathan, I say Leviathan, I say Satan, I say Sutan, I say Sutnubit, I say Sut-Heru, I say Suthar, I say, let's see, Melektas, I say, to all gods known and unknown, I say, my Hemmitt family, Shaw family, Davis family, all my family members, I say, 1, 2, 3, start calling out your family members, 1, 2, 3, I say, 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 To all gods known and unknown, Ashe. To all ancestors known and unknown, Ashe. We should say all anti-gods known and unknown, Ashe. We'll explain that later because we didn't do last night. Anyway, we still want to dedicate this lecture to Brother Atiba's father. What was his?
Leonard King Sr.
Leonard King Sr. You know, we give him these 2 lectures and dedicate these 2 lectures to him also. The brother made the transition also. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a question and answer period for the people who was here last night, and any questions you might have. Because some people might come to the lecture with questions that they might have, and it might be spiritual, personal questions, but by the time the lecture get over, you have forgotten them by the time the question and answer get over. So anything fresh on your mind, you can ask me some questions now also too. Okay, now you say, go ahead.
Okay. I've watched some of your tapes in previous lectures, and in the tapes you said basically that we're in a season right now we're supposed to see things that start to happen in terms of changes. And usually when the season comes, you see signs. And I'm asking you, what signs are you seeing? And also, when you see this current state that we're in right now, when do you see things changing? In terms of like the year, is it this year or?
Well, it's interesting. Basically, when these things was written, and the ancient scripture and what they were actually talking about, the signs that we're talking about was consciousness. That was consciousness. Because they also talk about the gathering of the masters. And those gathering of masters, we've been doing it for the last 10 years, starting off with recapturing the history and then going into the mystery. The historical aspect laid the foundation, but even those in the historical foundation, a lot of those were not privileged to go on into the spiritual aspect. And I'm answering your question too, but I give you all aspects of it. They're not privileged because knowledge is a privilege. So for the ones who didn't get with the historical thing, the ones that still stuck in religion and think they're going to hell and don't know nothing about themselves, they were not privileged to learn their history. The other ones, and I'll explain what that also means too. The other ones who learned the history, for some reason that they felt that they had it all for some ego purposes, that they didn't want to go on and learn additional information because we got too many people. When you get to be a master, some people never want to humble themselves to knowledge because they have mastered a certain history or a certain form of a different way of worship, and they're looked upon as an authority on something. So as a result, to learn something new means you got to go back to grade 1, and some of those particular people shut down, and they would rather just be only on that level of what they have mastered. So as a result, they're not privileged to get the higher knowledge. Then you have what is called the higher knowledge, which is all perspectives of spirituality. Whereas last night we was even talking about death and people in the house and different things like that. And just the most bizarre things to most people is just regular to people in consciousness. So those people are privileged to get a certain amount of knowledge also too. And some people say, well, you know, knowledge is supposed to be free. Knowledge is supposed to be, yes, if you want knowledge, if you seek that, then it is free for you to go and get it. But you have to have the aptitude to even want to do that, and that's where the privilege comes in. For the mere fact that we got dead people, and then when you tell them this, they reject it, that means that they're not privileged to it. You see what I'm saying? And it's based on a level of initiation. And why? So people say, well, why is that? Because it has always been that way, because the simple fact, this is a select original soul's knowledge, and since then we got millions of people out here that's far removed from the original ones. And so therefore they cannot get that knowledge and all because their souls are too young or don't have a damn soul to get this stuff. So now this is all going into what the question you just asked about what are these signs. don't look for nothing on the physical. Although the physical has brought us several signs. But basically the signs that's going to come on the physical have already been occurring the last 10 years. Abnormal weather, hurricanes are phenomenal, tornadoes that just touch down, fires burning in the west, fires burning, you know what I'm saying? So as far as the weather and the geographical are part of that signs, there has been ample amount over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years. That means, and to now to the people are so dead until now, that's not regular. No one suspects anything. So when it all boils back down, it only boils down to the brothers and sisters, and we quote, because it's not a worldwide thing. It boils down to the people who was charged into raising this thing up, and that is the black man and black woman, mainly here in America and parts of the Caribbean, but basically the apex of that is here in America. Some people say, well, why not Africa, why not others, why not mostly the Caribbean, all that? Because we are privy to knowledge here. They don't have the major libraries, and you can't go to no bookstore in no Ghana, go to Borders and Barnes and Nobles. You see what I'm saying? So we are privy to information based on the accessibility. And you know what I'm saying? And there's not enough black people in Europe. Then you got to look at the amount of black people who really know what time it is, which is a minute part. So on one aspect, when we get through all of the stuff and we say, well, what is the factor? The factor is these series of meetings that we go to. Now, if you take the Christ story and you take it out of his historical text and put it into eschatology, and eschatology means end time events, and they talk about these series of gathering of these disciples. Doesn't necessarily mean gathering around me as I'm the Christ or whatever, but just coming together and information getting out no matter how you get it. That is the same thing that they're talking about in the Bible that happened 2,000 years ago. That is what's going on now when they say the Christ, if you want to call it the person, but basically the Christ energy taught end time events, eschatology. So what we have been going through is a form of that. You see what I'm saying? Is a form of that, and I can also just say I can just bear witness to just my experience alone. One day going into a career with this, the next day going into a career with something else. The next day I'm in this, and actually it's been successful since the day I started. I've been having big crowds. I didn't really have to build up. I mean, all of a sudden I just boom, I just blew up. How is that? That's because it was the right time for the spirit, for the right type of information to get out, as well as anybody else. So the key, what I'm trying to say here is, the focus is not going to be on the outside world. It's going to be on those particular minds that's getting this. You see, this is not a thing that, this is not a thing like new political party or something like that you go to and you can, it's your decision on whether you can be in it. You are here based on, it was prophesied and you agreed to be here at this particular time eons ago. So the sign is actually you. And so how would you know the sign? For the mere fact that you have an interest in this, that is the sign. So now, and the identification of the actual people is bringing this thing about. Now, don't have to get all discouraged about the whole 2000 thing, because it's been 2000 or whatever it is. It's been the right time and all. As far as I know, we got several dates. We got 1991, we got 1994. We even have 1997 when it comes to the age of Aquarius. We have several alignments. We had the alignments that came up in November. The planets lined up. November of 97, the planets lined up, and they're going to line up again. And basically, I have learned over the years, if you wait on a historical event, if you wait on a cosmological event, you're going to be disappointed. you disappointed. Like everybody now is waiting for May 5th, 2000. You see what I'm saying? But before May 5th, 2000, it was January 1, 2000. You see what I'm saying?
The Jews still waiting on the Messiah. So.
Right, which is very interesting because it's very interesting based on that. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I even talked about that in New York. So remind me because I want to go into something about that when it comes to this limbo, which is a crew. So I think right now, and last night I introduced something that I think is going to help you as far as, because I think what you're trying to do is to hone in.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose of living then. That's what
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. I understand what you're talking about. You ask the good questions, and it's not really stupid. It's really that you're trying to cut the fat and saying, I want to hone in on when is the time to do this thing. And I understand exactly what you're talking about, and I have the answer to that. I literally have the answer to that now. Before I would say the time is now, and yes, it was a series of working with it. See, when the revelation of the apocalypse, or whatever you want to call it, the new age, the quickening, when it comes, people are waiting for an abrupt event. But what we didn't realize was we had to work at this. You have to bring this about in a series of work. Now, the work that we was talking about to bring this about was not necessarily doing all these spiritual things and going to these certain mountains and doing all types of things like that. It was a work of trying to piece it together and understand in your mind. And it doesn't matter if a whole bunch of people get it. It's just only a few of us that need to understand, and mainly the ones that's in the lectures. And then when you take a tenth of that, but it only needs that small group of people. So, but we had to work at it. Now I've been in this. This has been 8 years in the making as far as my lecturing. It's been over 11 years as far as my journey on this thing. So we're talking about the latter end of it, and I'm not necessarily saying it's all centered around me. Everybody out here has been speaking, has been a part of it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily all centered around me, but then again, on the other hand, I understand it basically because I'm talking about this, that obviously this is significant. You see what I'm saying? This is significant and all because I didn't start out as a child to be on this level. You see what I'm saying? And as a matter of fact, like I said before, I was successful. If anything can constitute for something, it's not as if I failed at something and decided to get in this. Because usually if you do that, you just basically going trying to look for another career. And after and as a result, if it wasn't lucrative, I would have gotten out of it, and basically I virtually made no money on the whole 8 years. The key, what I'm trying to make here is I was successful in what I was dealing with. I was already hooked up as one of those Negroes, the new boy toy for the Jews. You see, designing the shoes and all this type of stuff, you see. And all. So the point I'm trying to make is, and not necessarily talking about me, but trying to give you an access and an assessment into my life. And it's the same thing when you can go back and say, how did this come about? How did I get to this particular level that I am now? So we're already into that particular part, but I have the answer to you. And I gave the answer yesterday as far as looking in the right place. All of the magic and all of the knowledge and stuff leads up to one level. The key was revealed to me on Super Bowl night. And the key is, because I did a ritual, basically to end it all. And I was a little upset that it didn't go the way I wanted to, but then again, it went just what I wanted to because they gave me the key in what I needed. And basically that key was that the battleground, the battlefield that is going to be fought is going to be fought in the realm of the dream realm. That is the doorway. That is the doorway that needs to be focused on, and we're going to get deeper into that today also too. So that's one of your questions as far as what is it all, but is getting to the doorway, and that is the doorway. And we'll go deeper into that also tonight because I got some more stuff on it. But right now, let me get us a couple other questions. What's that, bro?
How do you specifically kick a ghost out your house? You mentioned it, how you got rid of the one.
The rituals I sold last night, there's one in there on how to release someone from its bounds. Because whether it's black or white, it's still trapped. You understand what I'm saying? It's still trapped. So there's a thing in there on how to release one from your bounds. And basically what I did is I used that ritual, and I called on several spirits that would help, that like Anubis, Cerberus, and anybody under the underworld and the guide from the dead. Tahuti. And I call on those particular entities, Hemmitt, for this particular messed up one, they eat the soul. You know, and any entity that you see in the so-called, that inhabits the region of the so-called underworld, which is just basically the kingdom of Osiris, the land of the dead. Any one of those spirits that inhabit that region, you go and tap into those and all. So, you know, basically the basic ritual isn't, you know, you pour your libations, you pour your libations, you burn your incense because you need some frankincense and myrrh to clean out the house, and some sage to clean out the house. You see what I'm saying? That enough will shake up the spirit that he'll be fighting, because, you know, because that really beats up on him. Frankincense, myrrh, and sage, you know. And then after that, you pour your libations, and then you write your own invocation of what you want. And in so many words, I call up these entities, and I did that actual ritual on release one from its bounds, and visualize the entities kicking this asshole out my house. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the way to do it. You know, burn your candles and all. You know, and while you're doing your ritual, and basically, and pretty much in the ritual, whatever comes to your mind of what is needed to be done, that's what you need to do. You shouldn't ask the question whether this is right or wrong, because for the mere fact it appeared in your mind that I need to do this, that's what you need to do. You understand what I'm saying? That's what you need to do. You know, there might be some hardcore funk music you want to get his ass up out of there. But whatever comes to mind, that's what you need to do in there, because that makes it personal. The actual ritual, it makes it personal. Did I get my water out the car? Oh, he's back there? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, cool. And that makes it personal. So those are a series of things to do, but that ritual of releasing from the bounds is an excellent one, and it's in there. Now remember, you don't have to get all that stuff, just read what's on the paper, what you're supposed to have, and that will do it also too. That will also do it. And I just did that one also for the nicer entity, to release her from a bound. The second one I call on, and I don't know if the Robert Masters book, The Goddess Sect, man, I don't know if it's still in print. And it invoked all her names, as well as all her attributes, and called on Segment to also help deal with that also too. I don't know if that book is still in print. It's still in print and all, but it was an excellent book, you know, for a real powerful spirit to drag this guy out. You know, called on the Egyptian god Hemmitt, which is the eater of the souls. You know, the eater of the souls and stuff like that, or some powerful entities, Apep, any dragon type entity, any deep dark goddess, Hecate's, Lilith, or anybody, you know, like that and all, to do some stuff and to get it out. Any questions? We got any more questions? Yeah.
When one makes up a ritual, how do you know that it doesn't offend the entity?
Well, if you make it, well, it's not about defending the entity, because this entity now resides in you. So for the mere fact that you're making up the ritual, that is the entity making up the ritual. These rituals ultimately should be drawn off your own energy, as well as what's going to really make it nice, so we don't answer to no more motherfucking gods. They are either with us, or they are against us. Now, if they're against us, we don't have to answer to them anyway. If they are with us, ain't no such thing as no defending, because we take on the attributes And now we are at, it's no different than when you've been appointed CEO. You understand what I'm saying? Ain't no more negotiation in this thing. If you CEO, and it's not a disrespect, they got to have somebody that's the chairman of the board to run the company. You see what I'm saying? And all your decisions are final. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not a matter of defending and all, because we're not coming by the way of worship anymore. We're taking on the responsibility as gods. And once you take on that responsibility as gods, then that means any entity that you read about got to bow down to you. And the reason why they have to bow down to you, because they're nothing but your own latent forces within you. Good question you asked, because it's the same thing that's happening with the Yoruba now. And I talked about this before. The Yoruba system, as well as the Buddhic and all the other stuff that a lot of the people are dealing with, and all world systems now, and I give this example about the Yoruba system. Although the Yoruba system is beautiful rituals and the entities, and you get far more out of it than you do Christianity, but a lot of the practitioners are now locked into still, it's a more advanced form of worship, but it's still a form of dogma and worship. Because what has happened is Obatala and all of these entities, Oshun, Ogun, and these Orishas, have become someone that the people depend on as well, other than someone, some energies that's a part of the person. So the elaborate mystery system of old, they understood that these entities were also inside of us, and they are a part of us as well as we are being a part of them. You understand what I'm saying? And you can't have one without the other. Energy is energy, and it's bound together. But over the course of years, and over the course of Africa deteriorating in certain invasions, the high priest in the mystery school, that was an established school, had to go up underground. And so after a while, what started happening is just like anybody else, when you have the everyday practitioner, their concept became not so much of these latent forces that's in us, and we are the actual entities, and we are the actual ones that are the ones in the driver's seat to push these entities. The concept became, we are beholden to these entities, we have to worship these entities, and we have to respect these entities, and we have to appease these entities. So it's just a matter of the tide changing to a worship form. But ultimately, these primal entities work through you, and once you become head of the command module, you understand what I'm saying? Then they have to do what you say, because the simple fact is no different than asking your kidney to push out some piss. Simple. You see what I'm saying? So we're not talking about it. So we're talking about the difference between the ones that's in here and the ones that's learning is supposed to get in touch and take command of their own universe. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not talking about the thousands of practitioners out there, you understand what I'm saying, that actually think that Obatala is an objective entity. Now, if you see, your mind determines where things are. So if your mind is at the level that it thinks that Obatala is out there, then Obatala is going to be out there. Shango is going to be out there. And based on your mentality, you better show enough appease them on that level, because you are not at the level to understand that they are part of you. But once you get to that level to understand that they are a part of you, you understand what I'm saying? Not only do you have the authority over them, but they don't work for you anymore based on the other way. You understand what I'm saying? Based on the other way. So the keys here in locking into this, because it's a very good question you're asking, where we are right now, the keys in the right now is have no responsibility whatsoever, have all responsibility for yourself, and leave no responsibility to any entity outside of yourself. We do recognize these latent forces. You see, we do recognize these latent forces, you see, but we also have to recognize that they are a part of us, and then that's the way they will start to work. And that's the way it's going to have to be. The entities are waiting on us. You see what I'm saying? They're waiting on us, but we have to bind them together by understanding that it is our mind and it is us that actually, ultimately, is going to tell them what to do. And that's what we figuring out. And it's an excellent question and all, because even when I had to house my rituals, I had to house my ritual, the one that I did, in a series of commands. I was in charge. You see what I'm saying? I was in charge. And all. And basically, it was a book, Rudolf Steiner's Cosmic Hierarchy. And in that book, they talk about how the Egyptians would take a person, and he would be in the mystery system, and he would go about, and he'd be thinking that these entities is omnipotent and above him. Then when he gets 30, the Egyptian priests used to come in and say, hey, look, them entities you've been praying, them your damn ancestors, they once was gods just like you, and you just the same as they are. And as a matter of fact, now you the one that's in control of them. It's the same thing in Jeremiah's book when he talks about how the elemental forces, when Horus or the Heru is a child, they are his protectors. When he becomes an adult at age 30, the Kim Heru, they are his servants. Just a matter of chain of command. So then the initiate, when he learns that these entities are all a part of him and that he's the same as them, then he has to get over the emotional aspect of dealing with that, because it's kind of lonely when you don't have a God to pray to no more. You see what I'm saying? And it's kind of hard to take an entity that you revere and tell them to get the fuck off their ass. You see what I'm saying? So another part about this is it's a matter of growing up to the point where you take the responsibility. And so we don't need, so a lot of magical aspects of this and stuff, it still can be tools where we get stuck into the method and not understand that ultimately the ones that the entire universe is waiting on, and ultimately this universe is waiting on you to destroy them, including the white man. Say, why don't you kill us? You know what I'm saying? Is us. That and I know that that's a hell of a responsibility. Remember on the movie The Matrix, they say, did he tell you what you was here for? He said, who? To save the world. He said, how do you tell somebody that? How do one deal with that? That's a hell of a responsibility. You see what I'm saying? So it's a matter of that also too. Give me some more questions. Yeah, what's that?
The notion that the stars are like whole holograms.
Yeah.
I can't quite get that.
It's simple. You ever hear the point? They say, well, that star that you're seeing out there is a sun, that the light is burned out, probably burned out millions of years ago, but your light is just not getting here. That's a scientific aspect of it, but to get the metaphysical aspect of it, you remember in the movie Matrix when he said, is that chair really real you feeling, or is it the brain sending signals to you? To your mind telling you that chair is hard, or this is green. You understand what I'm saying? So are those stars really out there, or is that the electrical wiring of the brain telling you that those stars are out there?
When everybody here agreed that the moon is where it is, and
exactly, because they got the same brain. If you have a brain, because man, I wish we had some chalk. We should, and see, that's what we should have bought.
Yeah.
You see, that's what we should have bought. We was right. We could have got something from there, matter. When you have a brain, the brain, and it's interesting you said this. Because interesting you said this.
You need me to go pick up some?
The Matrix. We'll go on, and when we go to break and all, then we'll go get somebody go get something from right up the street or whatever. You know, the brain is in actuality. When you talk about the Matrix is the human brain. It is because this brain is telling you that you need materialism to survive. You understand what I'm saying? That is the Matrix. Now we give you an example of what we're talking about here. Okay, everybody wants $1 million. Well, you know what I'm trying to say? I mean, right now that would be pretty nice for my ass too. I just would deal with it. I just would use it because I do admit I'm still stuck in the physical body. You understand? I'm still stuck in the physical body. But I would use it different than a Puff Daddy or whoever the other these niggas are, because they think that that's them. That's the difference. But the point I'm trying to make is this. Let's take a millionaire. And let's look and see if a person is really rich. Let's say if you was a millionaire in 1970, and you bought a whole bunch of furniture, a whole bunch of automobiles, and you bought a whole bunch of automobiles and stuff. And you just line your house up with all types of doodads and whatnots. Now in 1990, you never bought nothing since 1970. Now in 1990, everything that was the pride in your existence and everything that you thought that made you so wealthy would literally be out of style. As a matter of fact, you could probably walk to the pole side of town and see it up in the damn Goodwill. So that ought to let you know that there wasn't shit no way. And for the mere fact that the brain tells you that not necessarily mean that there's no such thing as that anyway, even on the mundane level that we're talking about here. So, is those stars out there, or is it that's what your brain telling you? We know that. Right now, when a person's spine breaks and he don't have no feeling in his legs. It's the same meat. The blood's still flowing through it. You see what I'm saying? But it's not connected to the brain anymore. You see what I'm saying? So therefore the brain does not have the power to tell it. You see, and that's the difference. So that's what this particular part is your brain is telling you that this is reality. You see what I'm saying? This is reality, and we can't shake that. You see, it's a prison. It's a jailhouse. And ultimately, that is what God is. God only exists through the human brain. You see what I'm saying? That false subordinate God.
You're talking about the almost physical God that we think of.
Yeah, but the Most High God is man, the Son of Man, and man on earth. That's one of the keys that and I think a lot of these things, as we say this stuff over and over again, but I think that's one of the concepts that we have to get. That before there was a God and a heaven and the angels in heaven, we were. You see what I'm saying? And I'll give you some other information, especially like on the whole menstrual thing. Because now there's a whole intelligentsia out. You know, it started with Leola Africa and a couple other things, saying that in actuality that a woman is not on the higher levels, or a woman is not healthy when she bleeds and all that. And that's not necessarily, that's not true based on my stuff. You see what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, that is the ultimate, and we'll go into that type of thing also too. But that is the ultimate form of bringing that higher realm back on the earth that once was here. But in so many words, before there was a heaven, we were. But when we look at the concept that there's nothing out there in space but a hologram, that heaven can only be in your brain. You see what I'm saying? Like you creating a damn machine, and then the machine comes alive. And then it starts writing scripture to validate it. You see? So, you know, what's that, sister? You had a question?
Oh, yes, you spoke about the entity in the blood and the mermaid.
Yeah. These particular mythologies that you get that later on was broken down into literal fairy tales and literal entities and the monsters of old, originally was original scientific data that was explained through mythology. Mythology was an advanced scientific data that explained these particular things. So when you hear things like water nymphs, mermaids, Melusines, and all of those different things that you hear in fairy tales, and if you go on back to Greek myths, and there's tons of it even in the Egyptian heaven and hell books, the book of Gates, where they get into these different monsters and stuff. All this is little extraterrestrial civilizations within the blood. And when we say extraterrestrial, we're not talking about some little green-eyed monsters. We're talking about the word terrestrial mean earth plane, and extraterrestrial just mean beyond the earth. And since we being beyond the earth, we are extraterrestrial. But These energy and these forces of who we are, these universes inside of us is inside of our central nervous system and inside of our body and inside of our bloodstream. It's in the movie, they talk about it in the Phantom Menace movie, the last Star Wars. They call it chloromidians. He said the chloromidians are these little intelligence, or these little extraterrestrial things, and they inside the Jedi warriors, and they said that this Darth Vader had more chloromidians than most other people. But they even got the word midian in the Bible. And in the movie Nightbreed, Clyde Barker's Nightbreed, which is an excellent movie. I just think that he made it in the late 80s when he thought that the more monsters and the more gore you can have and the more blood would make it seem real. But it was kind of outmoded now. I mean, his Hellraisers is still good, Pinhead and them the shit. But the movie Nightbreed, although the look of it is not as good, but it's still an excellent movie. Nightbreed, because he talk about Midian, this place that's in the Bible, and all these people of the Nightbreed, they lived in Midian. So they had this graveyard place, and that was Midian, and one guy who was a relative of Midian was a regular human. But his people lived in Midians. But what he didn't realize, and so when you go get the movie Nightbreed, to break this thing down, what he didn't realize was there's no place called Midian. That's some medieval graveyard. You go there and go up under the ground, and they got all these goblins and all these creatures. The Midian is inside of the human mind and into the melanin and all of the inner workings of black people, or they call the body of Solomon and Sheba, which would be Isis and Osiris. You see what I'm saying? So these Nightbreed is in actuality what is inside of the melanin, and you see these Nightbreed every night when you go to sleep. It's just that you don't go deep enough into the sleep to experience it hands-on, and because it's so different than the physical plane, until when you wake up, your physical mind has to constitute for what it had seen, and as a result, it gives you different images on the physical realm, and they don't make no sense. That's because it saw something in that realm that the physical knowledge or the physical terrain does not have anything that looks close to it. You see, anything that looks close to it. So therefore it has to overcompensate to give you different aspects of your own life experience, and sometimes they all run together and they don't make no damn sense. So that realm is inside of us, and those things are called melosines and different things that is this stuff that's in blood. And in so many words, it's melanin, and they call it water nymphs, mermaids, melosines, and all this stuff that's in the central nervous system, which is nothing but components of melanin. You see, that all mythology is made up of, especially a lot of your Greek mythology, because your Greek mythology is like your black Etruscan, but a lot of that survived. Now there's thousands of pages of this in the Egyptian mythology, but they don't let that stuff out for us to see. But you can get it in the Greek mythology also too. Give me some more questions. What's that?
So is that why the scientists have created this nanotechnology?
Yeah, nanotechnology, they're trying to copy that, but there's another movie, Battery is Not Included, where they talk about the little hovercraft. That is nothing but the same melanin inside of you, and they went there to the building, and all the people got in, and all the people made friends with these little extraterrestrial civilizations. That is on the inside of you. You see what I'm saying? On the inside of you. Give me some more questions.
So when your matrix or your brain essentially ceases to function on an illusionary level, what type of being or entity is left without consciousness, rational thinking? What are you then if you can shut that down?
you get a sense of it when you hear some music. You can't rationalize how you feel. You understand what I'm saying? You get a sense of that joy when you're having sex. You hear some music, you hear some laughter. These are latent feelings that come up that become ecstasy. So you just don't walk around in ecstasy every day. And critical thought sometimes is not necessarily ecstasy. But good thought can bring on ecstasy also too. But my point is those latent feelings that you get that you call ecstasy would be somewhat something outside of the rational, the logical thought process. And we get it in glimpses, or we take hard drugs, or we do everything. We buy material things just for one moment of that ecstasy. You understand what I'm saying? And basically, how about feeling like that 24/7? You see, what's that?
So you're speaking of like what basketball players speak of, like when they're in the zone.
In the zone.
Or like when you're daydreaming and like when you come out of the daydream, like time has gone by. So you're in that timelessness.
Yeah, I used to dance. And there's a technical thing that you start off with a dance. You know, it might be technical at first. You know, you just got to know your moves and stuff. And most white people can get the technical things if they practice hard. Well, I know I used to dance, but in one part of the song, you get transformed, and it's just a feeling in your body. I've had that feeling. I have gone out at times and had that feeling in my damn legs and could make moves, man, and wasn't doing no, I'm just talking about just basically almost standing still, but turning the damn place out. All the women looking and shit. You know, the damn DJ is saying, oh, you really doing it. And it was just a certain mood, it was just a certain energy. Whereas other times I went there and all, and I got on the floor and I got to warm up and all, but I'm not feeling it. So it's technical. It's technical. And you got to get the juices flowing. It's no different than basketball or sports or anything else. You understand? Anything else. And so I think this is what we're actually talking about as far as this particular entities and stuff like that coming online. It's no different than drawing and creating art. Sometimes you can do it, and sometimes you tear 4 and 5 sheets of paper. You see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily that your skill. Because take for instance, I was an artist, and my skill was perfect. My skill was, and I should have brought some of the stuff. You have to look like this and go, oh, that is a picture. That is a painting. Because I styled myself off that. Well, you had to look close and say, oh, that is a drawing. That is a painting. That's how accurate I was as far as my artwork. It was photorealism. A lot of white boys is into that. A lot of your illustrators. But I had the skill, but the creative ability kicked my ass at times. You see what I'm saying? As far as, well, you can draw perfect, but what you going to put on the paper and how you going to convert it into art, that's a whole nother story. And at first, you know, because I went on through college, I mean, there were people who go, the woman would tear off a sheet of paper at the first of the year and say, this is your grade, and give me an A. It was like, I can't teach you. Just hand in your damn shit. And I did that for 4 years, made the dean's list 3 damn times at Benedict College because my art was that good. Then I went to a guy at Spelman, because I was at Clark. You know, all the schools there, people don't know they take the classes all together. You think it's 4 or 5 schools, and they're right across the street from each other. If ever been, and there was a guy named Leb Mills that was at Spelman, and I was hot shit. I bust up in there and all, and the guy said, yeah, and I'd been in school for a while, and I was getting all these A's, and the white boy looked, he said, you are advanced, man. He said, I want you to go over to Spelman's, a black guy with a name named Leb Mills, and tell me what you think about it. And I signed up for the courses and shit. Man, it's just like I was in damn first grade. Leb Mills was like, I know you can draw, that's not the point. Now we got to work with you and find out what you're going to put on the page. What you're going to put on the page. And it took me a whole semester to turn out something that was perfect, that he can go, okay, You see, so I had to start all over again, and also it was different between something that's technical that you can do and something that the man was trying to tell me was spiritual. You see, was spiritual. He said, I don't want you to draw pictures. You got it. You're the best I have seen in all my 20-something years as far as the artwork. But you're the worst I have seen based on your creative ability. And this is the stuff that, this is the stuff around the world that record companies and all types of entertainment, the art stuff is trying to seize when it comes to black people. You see, trying to come to black people. So you hear this stuff now when one guy was like, you know, he's upset because he don't want to be known as a black artist. He don't understand that ever since 1990, the art world has said that the only art there is, number one, is black art. And we got too many museums filled up with all that white shit that was making pictures before photograph. You understand what I'm saying? Before they had a photography. We want black art. And it's, to this day, that is still the hot shit. But they've done all the cubism and, you know, all that stuff, and they got tons and tons and tons of that. And they found out in 1990 that the only shit was going to be created was going to be black art. Now, the music aspect, they had to stop that totally. That's why you got bad music now. R&B, R-rap is all the same. You understand what I'm saying? Most young people don't understand that the rap, even the rap of the early 1990s is drastically different than the rap they got now. You see what I'm saying? The rap they got now. Because it was all creative. You see what I'm saying? It was all creative. You see what I'm saying? And now they've gone worse. They done gone to the southern niggas now. New Orleans and Atlanta and all these motherfuckers, and they just like they born yesterday. You know, the back that ass and the back, you know, the back that ass. And, you know, just nothing. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, so they really had to shut that down. Give me some more questions. Yeah, okay.
When you were talking about the brain waves, matrix of the brain, but in, I think, is it in Revelation where they talk about Osiris with the sickle
Yeah.
in his hand? Okay, I was thinking that Osiris is in the blood, so you got sickle cell, people with
Yeah.
sickle cell. Now they claim that people with sickle cell have different brain waves some kind of way than the average person. In other words, that they can't tap into, like they can tap into a normal brain wave, but it's something about theirs that they can't. Okay.
Yeah, because the sickle is an advanced. Remember when the sickle is the sickle is it's an attribute. And what they're not telling people, I believe that all black people cells is sickle. It's just that you got some that's more latent as far as having a more indigenous strain of it. That's where you get the sickle cell anemia and all that stuff from. But I believe that all of it is that way because we understand that you have the Grim Reaper with the sickle, as well as one of the signs of Saturn is the sickle. And all this comes, is the Greek Chronos. Chronos, Saturn, or Sebek in Egypt, Chronos.
Maybe that was the natural way to have the
It was.
sickle.
It
But
was the
as
natural
we
way.
lived on the earth, we became more of an air breathing, so to speak, and
it might very
expanded
well
the
be.
cell, because that's what they do when people have sickle cell, is to give them oxygen, whatever, so the cell can then expand itself.
Exactly. You hit upon something right there. As well as if the European only uses 10% of his brain, and now because we are bred by Europeans like an animal, then we only use 10% of our brains. But like you're saying, if you go on back, there was a deterioration. This is very interesting you saying this because it was something I was thinking about a couple of months ago. And I was able to get a lot of it out of the White Wolf Publishing. They got something called Vampire Masquerade. Vampire Masquerade, and they got these different types of vampires. And they said that the ones you have now are watered down versions compared to the Methuselahs, which was the most ancient ones. And so this is the same. They just taking the vampire genre and taking African history and filtering it through there so you can't tell the damn difference.
Right.
See what I'm saying? What's that?
No, go ahead.
So what it is this here, they'll take vampire jargon and genre and mythology, and they'll filter all our history through there. And you can't understand what the hell is going on. You see what I'm saying? Now in there they talk about the Methuselahs is an older strain of vampire. There's somewhere like Atlantis or Lemuria or someplace like that. And the ones that you have now, although they have superhuman powers compared to the average person walking around, quote unquote, white people, those vampires that you see are watered down versions of the original ones. Of the original ones. So basically, their human characteristic is only set on survival, whereas the other ones could do all kinds of things, like gods. So we got talking about a gradual watering down process, one through intermingling with other races. Another one is basically having more offspring that was supposed to have been. See, if we were entities on a higher realm and then we fell and gradually took on the physical bodies, still our bodies was very potent. And after a while, after you keep having more and more offspring and you populate the earth, you thin out that damn bloodline. And as a result, the average human on the earth now is on a certain level till the mutant could be on the earth and you think we all one people. But clearly you know damn well. Hey, home. Yeah, clearly you know well. Yeah, come on in, shoot. Or you can't stay? Yeah, good to see you. Sister from Atlanta. You heard you was up here now. The mutant itself can coincide with us for the simple fact that we have been watered down. But you know for a fact, just looking at black people now, that we are 100% different than white people on every damn thing we do. So that alone, but that's just, and we are so different that it's almost like black and white now. You understand what I'm saying? But can you compare to what we would be? Let's just say, even if we just go back to damn Hemmitt. You see what I'm saying? Even if we can just go back to Hemmitt. That is the reason why most of the Afrocentric scholars missed the mark when they started thinking of Hemmitt in modern terms. And these people were nothing like that. Because even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out how people can survive without the basic technology that we have now. And be on a high level. Because we've seen the flip side of not having technology on the European side. Go back and see that medieval shit. Horrible. Why even live? So if these people were very advanced, I'm still trying to find out what was about these people that was so advanced that they didn't have to have the things we had now. Or did they not have those things within their own human DNA? And is the mystery system, the secret societies and the white people now who basically run the world is basically taking technological equivalent of what we already had in the spiritual realm. Just basically making a technological blueprint of what we had already had, and we going crazy over some cell phones and bullshit. You see what I'm saying? So that has something to do with it. What's that now?
Okay, I was just wondering, like, people always ask me, why do I put images on flyers? You know? And for this event, you had me put Sebek and Horus on. Could you explain why?
Well, boy, I got to go back because I don't know how. It was probably spiritual.
Yeah, cause it was
why I did it, because number one,
Comedic Millennium Blackness was Friday.
That's right, that's what it was.
And
you
said Sebek for that one.
Sebek, right? Because the Stella, you'll see a picture of Horus, and he's standing on a whole bunch of crocodiles. Those crocodiles represent his power, just like Jesus or Christ is riding on a donkey. The ass is actually the power outside of the physical realm that is very powerful and destructive if it enters the physical realm, but it has to be filtered through the human entity, which is the Christ. So the millennium blackness is Number one, it goes back to bear witness with that. We are the embodiment now of that power. It's just a matter of recognizing it, and but we can't recognize it through other deities as far as giving them the power. When their power is in the book of the law, it says, had it, which is the same black dot. He said, do not worship me, I am the worshiper. The others will be known in the physical realm, I never. So you're never going to see me as long as the physical realm exists. So therefore, become me, basically, in so many words. The only link you have is not an entity on the outside. It is, they say, the gods of men are fools. It is the inside. And that's what Newt ordained us. So that a millennium blackness is, in so many words, it's what I've been talking about all the time now, but it's also honing in to say, at this particular time, I don't think the major events that everybody's looking for, that the white boy God is looking for, because he'll always invent some new major events. Those major events are already here. You see what I'm saying? And we can't just be waiting for black people to rise, because that's another shit too, especially in New York. Black people on the rise. Black people ain't own shit. But getting their ass whipped and going to jail and whatever damn thing. We are on the rise. The conscious community and the ones that we talk about always think that this thing is growing because we are wrapped into a conscious community, but all you got to do is look at your goddamn family member and know that's some bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? Your close friends and know that them niggas ain't is dead as hell and know that we're only talking about us. So this is the only people we have to deal with right now. It has nothing to do with the outside, and now at this particular time it don't have nothing to do with time. It has something to do with churning up something and making a bomb now. And also too, it has something to do with it because in actuality I'm like him. Last month or so I'm like, look man, what's the damn point? What's the point in living? I mean, yeah, you can make plans and you can psych yourself out and look forward to some stuff, but you're only looking forward to all the stuff you done had before. But I'm saying ultimately, outside of this knowledge and stuff, what's the doggone point? So that itself, when it gets to that particular level, it is time. The time is actually now. And I'll tell you how much the time is actually now. By no means that I want to go and... By no means that last week I did a lecture in Harlem, and I knew that I was going to start back on the circuit in February, but I dreaded getting it. I said, with any luck, hopefully, I don't have to do this because this shit will all be over. You see what I'm saying? Will all be over. So the time that we're talking about is we're talking about now. We're not going to wait on black people to get no more consciousness because that ain't happening.